Othering Podcast explores the world of marginalized communities with a focus on the disabled and LGBTQ+. In our discussions, we will provide a platform for our guests to advocate and share their stories. By delving deep into their difficulties and successes, we will explore the changes necessary to improve lives everywhere. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory.
PEP Radio, part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project, advocates for the rights of LGBTQ plus people, the disabled, and marginalized communities. We play music from all 7 continents from 1928 through 2025 in English, Spanish, German, African tribal languages, Korean, and Japanese. We also offer news, history lessons, and are proud to include the Othering Podcast in our programming lineup. Tune in on the Live 365 app, Roku, and Alexa every Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m.
Hello.
How are you?
All right, today we are talking to Taylor Coffman. Taylor Coffman is a creative, a producer, writer, and actor whose life shifted dramatically when childbirth triggered a rare, aggressive, life-threatening illness. After surviving multiple organ failure, sepsis, and pneumonia caused by atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome, or complement mediated thrombotic. I give up.
It's rough. It's really hard. Yeah, complement-mediated thrombotic microangiopathy. See, even I.
So from there, she transferred her challenges into purposes, and she shares her journey through honest storytelling, advocacy. She has a #1 viral article on Huffington Post and a Substack called Rare Disease Girl. And Taylor has also appeared in several different television shows, including HBO's Silicon Valley and CBS's, I believe, Life in Pieces.
Yes.
Welcome, Taylor. It's
Welcome.
an honor to have you.
It is a great honor.
Hi. Yes, so great to meet you both.
I read your Huffington Post article.
It is.
And all I can say is, holy shit.
Yes.
What you've been through is unbelievable.
Yes. And
I'm so glad you made it through, but wow.
Thank you. Yeah, I had the, what do you call the blast coaster version of illness? I went from being I had relatively minor things, right? Migraines or, not that those are minor, but comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Very sort of manageable health issues to then having very unmanageable, very hard health issues. Yeah. Within moments, pretty much. Yeah.
Which is terrifying because it's supposed to be the moment where you get to hold your baby and be, enveloped in that love and that glow. And unfortunately, shit hit the fan.
Yeah, pretty fast. I didn't even get to really see her even. I heard her crying because it was a C-section. So for those who know what that's like, you have sort of a curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband saw her because we actually didn't know if it was a boy or girl. We were one of those couples that were just let's keep it a mystery, And so they were like, it's a girl. And they lifted her up to my husband. And then my husband went to cut the cord. Well, they closed me back up and did all the final things that are involved in a C-section, which when the baby's actually born, people often don't think about this when you have a C-section. The baby gets born, but that's the middle of the procedure.
Yes.
For the mom, you still have more, you're wide open. You've got your whole body is splayed for everyone, and so you're still my husband was oh, we got to the finish line, and you're still I'm still wide open here on a table. And so they closed me back up, and they wanted to check her out a little bit because one of the reasons I had a C-section was because her little heart was showing signs of distress. And this should maybe have been the first clue that maybe something was going on. So they were listen, we just need to check her out, make sure she's okay. We're going to keep her in the NICU for a little bit just to monitor her and her breathing. And she was sunny side up, which I don't like my eggs that way or my newborns. So.
Exactly.
So I didn't, but the thing is, I always will regret this. I didn't see her. Like, I didn't get to see her. They were like, but I was also just like, do what you got to do, like for her best health and whatever. Like, I'm going to see her the rest of my life. Like, it's fine. I did not realize that I would not get to see her. It was like Thursday at 1 a.m., which feels like Wednesday night, really.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to see her until Saturday night because I immediately started like the alarms just started going off. And I remember they had one nurse sort of hovering over me. And I remember she came back over to me. She's like, "Oh, they're very sensitive." And she turned them off. And it was like, everything had gone very routine.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they probably are sensitive. Like, there was no reason to think that anything was wrong.
Right.
But when they wouldn't stop and they went right back on, I just saw her face, like, just sort of, I just saw like this, like, panic just go right over her face. And then all I remember feeling at the time was incredibly tired, like anyone would after having
Yeah.
a baby, even C-sections, it's not maybe as much, the effort is slightly different, but you're still exhausted.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a surgery.
And so I just remember being rushed by all these medical professionals. And if anyone watched The Pit, I remember this like happened for one of the episodes of The Pit where they have like almost like a little phone and they can sort of scan you. It's a technology, man. It's amazing.
It is.
They could basically scan my abdomen and they knew immediately that I was hemorrhaging. And so I basically, and so immediately I reached for my husband's hand. I said, "I love you." And they pretty much wheeled me sort of back into another surgery. They didn't even, he was just like roaming the halls. No baby, no mom, having no idea where either of us were for
Jeez.
almost an entire night. It was chaos. It was chaos. I then didn't wake up from anesthesia in a proper way. And they were very, very like thinking that I might not wake up.
So, until the anesthesia, you were awake?
Well,
They
they put
never
me
knocked
back
you
on,
out?
they put me under general anesthesia for the reopening and what I
Okay.
would call a high states
Oh,
resuscitation.
okay.
Yeah. So I was on, so that one of the challenges for them, and I just reread my chart because I don't know if anyone, you know, we love my chart, so they put all your notes in it. I had so many notes that the app like couldn't contain it all. If that gives anyone a sense of how ridiculous this
Wow.
hospital stay was.
Jeez.
Like the app only allowed for 500 notes for one hospital stay. And I had well over that. And I had to ask the
shit.
hospital for the additional, almost like, I think it was 142 pages of notes.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
Not counting labs that I didn't get with the 500 notes that I did get. but it was interesting because they had to basically, they couldn't find where I was hemorrhaging, but they couldn't find where I was bleeding from. They couldn't figure out like what was basically happening. I mean, they were worried that they had cut me incorrectly, that they had caused some issue. And what was unbeknownst to them, the sort of simplification of what happened was my body basically has this system. So you have your innate immune system,
Mm-hmm.
and we know a lot about autoimmune disorders. So your autoimmune system kind of has a buddy called the complement system, which I didn't ever even know existed
Yeah.
until mine started to try to murder me.
Yep.
It essentially has some regulators, and for some reason during birth, my regulators decided to quit. And so the system overactivated and it started attacking my own cells. It's usually really good at attacking bacteria and meningitis and things like that. In my case, it was attacking me and was disrupting my blood in such a way that it was causing very tiny blood clots. And these blood clots were spread all over my body and clumping in small blood vessels. So I essentially had clots all over my kidneys and my heart and my lungs, all over my pelvis, all down her cord, which is why she was having heart problems, because she wasn't getting the support she needed. And over the course of the next few weeks, it was a very, very high stakes battle for my life. I finally did wake up from anesthesia, but I was not out of the woods for many, many weeks.
So your complement system was attacking your body before you had the C-section operation?
Well, they really are not specifically sure. There's a
Okay.
few working theories, but it is very common to trigger during birth for this disease, because it's essentially a stress event for your body. And my body, much like an autoimmune disease, overreacted.
Right.
And yeah, caused a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a few.
And
Yeah.
I want to touch on the fact that I didn't know that there was a complement system until recently myself. There's like multiple levels to it, because you've got your parasympathetic and your sympathetic and your complement, and then of course your central. And how terrifying it is to learn about your body in such a like normally when you
traumatic way.
in a traumatic way.
Yes.
That's the word. Thank you. Because I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm thrilled that you guys ended up being okay, but it's just, you want to learn about your body in a more controlled relationship
Yeah,
kind of thing,
for
and
sure.
not have it trying to murder you. And
I went 41 years not knowing I had a complement system, and that was great.
Yeah. You could have gone another 41 not knowing.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is very, it is I would say I've gotten to a point where I'm very good at explaining the disease and how the system works, but it's also a very complicated disease. And a lot of people who get the diagnosis don't always fully even understand how that all started happening, like how it works. It's taken me, I'm a storyteller and a writer and a communicator by nature. So I've basically got my under 5-minute explanation. But when a doctor comes to your hospital room to explain to you what happened, like it goes over your head,
Yes.
like the waiter who just rattles off salad dressings and you didn't
Yep.
hear any of it,
Yep.
So it took a long time to learn the science of what was happening, for sure.
So I want to ask about your husband real quick. We'll get back to you. But
Yeah.
when Dory went into childbirth with I think it was our middle kid, or maybe our other
Depends.
one. I
I
don't
don't know
remember.
which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it was our middle kid. That's right. As soon as she pushed him out, he was rushed into ICU because he was 10
Yeah.
weeks early, and didn't get to see him right away and stuff like that. And then that's not actually what I was going with. My youngest, when she went into labor, I wasn't there with her. I was at home, and I didn't know. I think it was going into labor. I have the story all screwed up. I shouldn't have started this. But something happened where her or the baby's life was kind of in danger. I was at home, and it was a
Yeah.
horrifying experience for me.
It's
So
so
for
helpless feeling.
for your husband to not know where the baby is, to not know what's happening with you, I can't imagine how that felt for him. That
I
had to have
mean-
been terrifying.
The emotions were so high, and he didn't know if he was worried that they had accidentally hurt me in some way. He was worried. He just did not know. And they were fighting so hard. The notes on my situation, it was so dramatic to read. And my doctor and actually she's like my gynecologist now, basically. And she had to, she was pretty candid with me. She was like, I had to take off work for a few days after saving your life. It was
Wow.
that dramatic, and that these doctors are, God bless her.
Yes.
And it was interesting because she was actually pretty young, and my husband actually thought at first she was the nurse. That
Yes.
happens still. But it was funny because I was like, I have read the stats, and I was actually really comforted when I saw a woman was going to be doing my C-section, because female doctors have incredible rates of success on saving patients and whatnot. So I was like, I felt like I was in like good hands. I was like, I'm going to be okay. And God bless her, she did it. She had a
Yeah.
really high stakes save, and she did. And, but I wasn't out of the woods. I had, more abdominal surgeries. I had another abdominal surgery, literally so dramatic that it was happening in my hospital room. They didn't think they had time to get me to a surgery. Like, the
Oh, jeez.
surgical team did it in the room just to
Wow.
make sure, everything was okay. Like just that one incident, it really, like, basically a week later from having her, I was in a coma because I was just not getting better. And much of what I talk about in the article was this. I had, so many doctors, because so many systems of my body were going wrong. And I had so many geniuses, and they made really smart moves. Like, luckily I had a hematologist that checked his messages on a Saturday morning over breakfast. And he was like, I think it's this thing. And if it is this thing, she needs this infusion drug like ASAP, and thank goodness I got that. But even with the fact that this is one of the 5% of rare diseases with a treatment, my body had been hit so hard, and the treatment is incredibly immunocompromising. So they hit me with this drug to keep the disease from continuing, but what it did was help lay the groundwork for severe sepsis and pneumonia. And so these doctors, so smart, so passionate, but they had a really challenging toggle. They had a two-front battle, because I had a bleeding disorder because I was having platelets being destroyed and clots. Okay.
Wow.
So I
That's
had,
very rare.
yes, exactly, exactly. So they had to figure out how to keep me from bleeding out, but also make my clots go away. I also had a disease that required an immunocompromising drug, while I also had pneumonia and severe sepsis. So they had to really, when I was not doing better, essentially, for about a week. At one point, I had a terrible case of hypoxia, which, for folks, if you're not familiar, is when your brain's not getting enough oxygen, because my lungs kept filling up with fluid because I had kidney failure. And so essentially, and pneumonia and a clot in my lung. It was just not great. My breathing was not happening well. And I, was in a state where I was, and this happens actually more often than I think many people even talk about, where I wasn't in my right mind. I was getting paranoid because I wasn't like processing right. I started fighting the doctors. I thought it was like a lie. I was getting psychosis. And so they put me, on a timeout, which basically was an induced coma. And when I woke up from that, for some reason, and who knows, I was just, this might be, I don't know what anybody believes, but I just feel like I got like infused with like no more fucks to give. And I just was like, you all are great. You all are very smart. But I could assess, after meeting with people after waking up from this coma. And to be fair, they were fighting so hard for me. Like, I had very professional doctors. Many of them had tears in their eyes when I woke up from this coma. Like, they were fighting. They cared, but they were not maybe as organized as they should have been. And I have experience being a project manager, because that's what I would do at my day job, and I'm used to working with big teams and making sure everyone's aligned and communicating. And I just called it out, and I was like, I just don't feel like you all are communicating effectively, and you need to get a system together, because I am not getting better, essentially.
Yeah.
And I was like, I also need a quarterback here. Like, one of you needs to like wrangle everyone together and organize my care. And so luckily, my one doctor in particular on my fetal medicine team heard me and he got everyone up, everyone together on a text exchange essentially, and they then made a wide strategy around my care. Because another thing I will say, these are great doctors, but like things were changing every hour sometimes. You couldn't read my whole chart to catch up on it before something else was going wrong. So it's like I give them a lot of, I think doctors sometimes get a bad sort of they get a lot of criticism for care and challenges, especially when, it's
Yeah.
complex.
Yep.
But I could see they cared, and I just wanted them motivated and working at the top of their license, because otherwise I was not going to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And they did.
you bring up a great point though, is the fact that I think what kind of hurts care in America a lot of times is that they are always so scattered, and they always say,
Yes,
well, here, let's, toss it over to this doctor, or let's toss it to
that's
this
right.
doctor, instead of everybody saying, you know what, let's kind of talk together. This is my expertise. This is what I think is going to be happening. And they don't seem to do that. And I think that's a huge disservice
Yeah.
because, I mean, it's great that you were a project management person because that saved your life.
Yeah.
And but you shouldn't have to be that
Right.
in order to to save your life.
Well, I think they don't teach doctors enough, like, multidisciplinary teamwork.
Yeah.
Usually they're just like in charge, or they're working with their own team in their own specialty, and
Right.
I think it's, absolutely like a challenge of and doctors will admit it fully that, like, for example, my continuing care involves a nephrologist and a hematologist, and they're my Hall and Oates, I say, and they make
Good
beautiful
group.
music, but they do not get along all that much sometimes. Like, they will disagree. And, a lot of the great musicians didn't agree. Like, just look
Exactly.
at Paul McCartney and John Lennon. Like,
Yes.
they made great music, but they're not always, they probably, they didn't always get along. So anyways, my point being that you can get great care still, even if your team isn't necessarily very good at working together. But that does mean you have to kind of be the CEO of your care. Now, I would say project management also, but really, I think my project management background helped me see the problem, but I became the CEO of my care. I became the one that was like, this is what you guys need. You guys need to get it together.
Yes.
I needed to
And
motivate. I was in charge. I was empowered. And I think that is the thing that's true that people, and even doctors, forget. Like, it's my body
Yes.
at the end of the day. And so that's why our shared decision making is really important, and something I talk about a lot. Even that article I wrote, it's like I became a voice in my care, and I became a strong voice in my care. And so that made a huge difference in the outcomes. And I think that is a skill that's really hard to get.
Yes.
I got it because I had a baby that I was like, I gotta get home. I cannot die right now. Like, so I
Yeah.
was infused with that a little
Yes.
bit.
And
Yeah.
it is
And
true because, like, once that baby comes, it's like it flips a switch in our brains, I think, where
Yes.
all of a sudden it's just like we could be like the meekest person on earth, but as soon as they
Yes.
come, it's just like, oh no. And then we just like become
Right.
this ball of fire.
Mama bear. It's a
yeah,
real
Yes.
thing.
exactly.
we
So
we will, like, run into scary things
Yes.
to be the best effective parents. And yes, I think that was a huge part of it.
is
And the thing
your
I try to oh go ahead.
is the baby, your kid, healthy today?
She's doing great. She's
Good.
three
Yay.
now.
Good.
She's 3 years old. She's doing great. I always get a little worried because fundamentally this is a genetic disease, and I do always wonder if she will be impacted by it one day. But luckily, it won't catch people off guard for her. Like, in my family, there's no incidents of this that anyone's aware of. It is possible, obviously, for genetics to, like, change based on environment or all sorts of things. So we don't really know, for me, like how this happened, essentially.
Right.
Which was why it was also kind of scary too, because there was not a test I could take
No,
that would
it's
give anyone answers, you know. So but she's great. She's really great.
Good.
She was super healthy, and I was just like, and honestly too, you know, I did finally get to meet her, you know, that next weekend, and you know, it was both like the most wonderful experience of my life almost, but also one of the scariest, because when I said goodbye to her and she went home, I didn't know if I'd ever see her again, because I didn't know at that point if I was gonna make it out of this. I mean, I hoped that I did, but I mean, it was excruciating. And I think, and I will say, shout out to my hospital, because even though it was COVID protocols at the time, they did make it, they did get approval from like the head office that she could come visit me periodically along the way. And that was a huge, like, I felt no pain whenever she came around. Like, it was just sort of this amazing experience of fuel and comfort, and yeah, it really kept me going, getting to see her, you know.
yeah, and it does
Little
make a huge
miracles.
difference. And
Yes.
when our middle child was born 10 weeks early, just being able to see him and touch him and kind of talk to
Oh,
him, it made a huge difference. Like, because I have to admit, I felt horribly guilty. Like, you know, my body just gave up, kind of thing.
yeah.
And it turns out it was because I had incompetent cervix, but nobody knew it at the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And seeing him so little, like, it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, it was soothing, because
Yes.
I knew he was in a great place and that they
Yes.
were going to fight for him. He's 18 now.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, and he's going to be well, but it's to say that, like, that mom feeling, just as
Yes.
soon as you see your babies, just kind of, that mama bear just starts coming out, and you find any way you can, because both of us were working at the time, and it was exhausting, but for him, it was just
Worth it.
seeing him, it kind of woke me back up, and it was great.
Yeah.
And I think that being able to be around your children is a huge healing thing.
Absolutely. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they recognize that too. Like, my morale too was so much better whenever I would
Yeah.
get to see her. Like, it was a huge, I mean, the benefits of her presence were very clear to me. And it was hard at first. I'm not going to lie. I remember one of her first visits, I couldn't hold her. I was so weak, you know, and I remember almost thinking like, oh gosh, should she not have come? Like, I can barely have the strength to like really engage with her, you know. But you know, it got easier as I started to get better. And you know, it was a powerful experience. I just think, you know, mentally though, it was a rough road, because even when I did get to go home, so I gave birth to her in January, I came home in March, and when I came home I had dialysis every other day, and I was on dialysis, you know, for about the first 9 months of her life. I call myself in the lucky unlucky club, like, because it's a complicated thing, because I'll say like I got really lucky, and then you go like, oh, well, I don't want that kind of luck, but
Yeah.
then maybe I do, like, I don't know, but I got really lucky. I'm one of the 1 to 2% of people that was eventually able to get off of dialysis without a new kidney.
Wow.
Yes, very,
Awesome.
very, very. I got very lucky. See, you know, there it comes. But I think what you know, to talk about that, like, so I basically, if anyone on here talks about dialysis, it's not an easy thing. It's like you go in, even if you're on the machine 3 hours, you really are there like 5, and then you get home, and it, you know, I sort of laugh whenever I hear these like no shade to Gwyneth Paltrow or anything, but these goopy detoxers who are like, I got detoxed and it was I feel fantastic. I'm like, I literally got detoxed by a dialysis machine.
Yeah.
And you feel like shit is what you feel like. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
a real detox like does not feel good. It kept me from dying, but it did not feel like a good thing. So I would get home from these sessions, you know, hungry, because dialysis actually makes you hungry. It stimulates your stomach juices. So you come home, you're hungry. I remember I would eat like crudité, like, because I didn't have energy. No one had energy to cook. And I had a very sweet friend who would cut me vegetables. Like the love that you can taste in a cut vegetable is pretty insane. But, you know, she would sometimes be asleep. And then I, you know, would miss getting to see her because then I would need to go to sleep. And then it was just like, oh, wow, every other day I don't get to see her, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
And it was a huge load on the family. But one of the really kind of amazing things, sort of to flip the sort of perspective, is like, I feel very lucky that we really had so much support from friends and family. And one of the amazing things about her, so her first word was hi.
Ours was
And
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob was the
Yes.
word.
Yes.
Wow, that's advanced.
I wasn't expecting it, but all three of them love SpongeBob, so
Oh my God, that's hilarious. But she's very friendly as a kid, like, because basically all these people were around helping and supporting her. Like, it wasn't just me stuck on mommy all the time. Like, it was, but yeah, I mean, she's just like the friendliest little kid. She's so friendly and so warm and just, you know, she has more mommy cling now because I like had last Thanksgiving, I was back in the hospital because I had to have so many surgeries the first time around. The scar tissue. Oh, let me tell you, you have too
yeah.
many abdominal surgeries. That scar tissue gets really, it becomes like hard spider webs through your abdomen, and was cutting off like blood flow to like my intestines in certain areas. And so I had to be rushed back to the hospital. And I think that was way more scary for her. And I remember she was a little clingy after that for like really like 6 months because she was like, whoa, like now she was 2 at the time, and she has more of a sense of like, because otherwise my chronic illness is really normalized for her. Like she's obsessed with Nurse Stacy, who comes to our house and gives mommy infusions. Like, because I do my infusions at home, and she's like, she kind of loves helping out with that process. Like, she gets right up in there. Like, she's like helping hang the bag on the IV pole, and she's like very intrigued and wants to help out with that process. And you know, but you know, it as she ages, I'm curious to see how she'll
Yeah.
interpret all of this. But I do think right now, you know, it's like this is the medicine that helps mommy stay healthy, and mommy does have things. She gets tired, you know. I may not be like every other mom, but you know, I think I hope that actually makes her builds her character instead of
I think it would
it takes it
because
away, you know?
you fought to be here for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you fought to be the best mommy you possibly can for her. And I think she knows that innately. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to give her the best make her the best type of person possible because she's
Absolutely.
gonna have
Yeah.
such empathy for people, and she knows she has a village that loves her to pieces.
Yes.
And that makes a huge difference too, because even when you get, you know, disabled and have horrific incidences, having the knowledge that everybody is going to be taken care of so that you can focus on getting better is a huge thing too. Because without that, it just kind of, you worry too much about everyone else.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
can't get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, her relationship with Zach is really like, I think atypical maybe. Like I know a lot of dads are close with their kids, but like he was her first
Yeah.
skin on skin. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he really was the one every night waking up with her in the middle of the night as a baby. Like it was really because I also couldn't, I wasn't cleared to lift her for a while. Like
Hmm.
I wasn't cleared to lift her. I had her in January. I wasn't cleared to lift her till April. So he was the one basically really present for her in those times. And it was just, it's really, it's changed the fabric of the family I thought we were going to have. But I do think that being atypical in that way is really, it has its like beautiful side, you
Of
know?
course.
Yeah.
A very beautiful side because they're going to have a bond a lot that nothing will be able to break.
Right.
And that's a good
Yes.
thing because as parents ourselves, having the ability to have that bond with our kids is a huge thing. And it kind of reminded me that my kids got a little clingy because with our youngest, I had to be in the hospital for 8 weeks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And when I got home, the kids were just like all over me.
Yes.
And
That,
honestly,
that
like,
familiar.
I
Yes.
didn't understand it. Like, it didn't dawn on me at that moment because I was just like, they came and visited me and they saw me and they got lollipops and things like that. So of course they wanted me to go back. Um, They're like, "Can't you go back, Mommy? I like those
Wow.
popsicles." It's like, I love you too, sweetie. But um, I did love those moments though too. At the same time, even though I didn't
Oh,
understand it, and
yeah. I mean, at first I was like, oh, I will take all the cuddles. Like
Yeah.
it was like her and this dog here. They both would be like wanting to cuddle.
yep,
And even too, we're not like big, we were never, and especially intentionally, a co-sleeping family. And when I came up from the hospital, I was like, honestly, I really just want everyone. I
Yeah.
really want everyone in a bed cuddling each other. Like that's my favorite time of day, really, is like the morning cuddle. Like
Mm-hmm.
those moments are really, really sweet. You know, when the
yes,
dog and my little one and we're all just like, together is really like that's what it's I mean, that's why we're here, right? That's
Yeah.
the
yes.
love and that's the good stuff.
And
Yeah.
that's beautiful because I loved the mornings. The kids would always come in the mornings, and we would just
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
lay in the bed and just cuddle and talk or play or whatever. And it makes a huge difference, I think, just in quote unquote normal families having
Yes,
that
yes.
Mm-hmm.
option. But I think for us disabled people, when we have those moments, it's even more tenfold because
Oh
we
yeah.
know the beauty of it because we've been through hell and back.
Yes.
For sometimes you didn't even notice it, like you don't
Oh,
realize you're in hell and back,
oh
but
my God, of course.
you look
Yeah.
Yes,
back and you're just like, what the
absolutely.
hell?
It
And
changes your perspective
Yeah.
so much for
it
sure.
does.
Like now even too, like I mean, I just remember I couldn't walk from the car to the couch, and and I never lose sight that when something is easy like that
Mm-hmm.
now, that 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 I'm always present for that. Like
Hmm.
even
Yeah.
showers, like I wasn't allowed to have a normal shower for like about 10 months essentially.
Yeah.
And that was really, something that I had always taken for granted. I'd
Yes.
Yeah.
never ever thought twice about the glory of water falling on my head and down my
Yes.
back. Like I that did not register on my scale of what wonderful things exist. And
Yes.
now
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just get in there and it's like, those old herbal essence commercials.
Yep.
I'm like, yes, this is
It's-
beautiful.
it is.
Moving forward, do they or do you expect there will be further complications, or with the infusions and what you're doing, you're fairly good now?
Well, that's a really good question. And it's a question I think all of us have, to be
Nobody
honest.
knows. Okay.
Here's some working theories. So essentially when I was on dialysis, I got very lucky that I had a referral to one of the like kidney gods. You know, the doctors that like every other doctor knows their name, you know, one of those. And actually, when I met him, I was really like, okay, we'll see. And then he was really unassuming, really lovely. And actually, he was also disabled. He came in with like, you know, a cane.
Oh, wow.
And he's not like that old. And I was like, he spent so much time with me, very gracious, very warm. And he just kind of, and at that time I was still in dialysis, and he gave it to me straight. He said, "This is my theory for you. I think you're going to come off of dialysis without a new kidney, but I don't think that you'll be able to stay off of it forever."
Okay.
That my kidney was damaged so much that he was like, eventually at some point, you will have, you know, kidneys don't tend to stay in their state. You know, they kind of wear down over the years. And so in a very kind fashion, he said, "I do think you are going to come off of this though. But what we're going to do is we're going to get you on the kidney list so that you don't," this is all the stuff they don't tell you about, right? So you get, I guess, like the amount of time you're on dialysis, you get credit for that. And that helps you be on the list. And he was like, "I want you to get credit for all the time that you've been on dialysis. I don't want you to lose it." So essentially how it works is, so I'm on the kidney list, but I have like a little asterisk next to my name where it's just like, you can skip her for now. so like I kind of like hold my place in line, because I think the idea is, you know, but I will say this, it is kind of a miracle. My kidney still 3 years later, and look, we're only talking about 3 years, but it still has shown signs of improvement, which
That's amazing.
is absolutely miraculous.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a combination of like me putting in a lot of effort to make sure that I take care of the function I have. But, you know, I think I just feel very grateful. But if you were to call me up, Michael, in like 10 years, 20 years, well, we'll talk. We'll see how I'm doing. But
yes.
but that's the prognosis right now. But, you know, I just live for today,
Yeah,
and I
sounds
live
good.
for the amount of healing that I've had. And I really, like, I don't know, I feel like, I know, like, you just started following me on my rare disease girl. Like, I just rappelled off a building. Like, my mom is, my in-laws and parents were all just like, "Why?" And I'm like, because I got all this back, you know, in a
Right.
sense. Like, yes, I get dizzy sometimes, and yes, I'm tired, and yes, you know, I think I definitely have orthostatic hypotension and all these repercussions, but like, you know, everyone's going to be dizzy at the top of a building.
Yes.
It's normal there, you know. Like, I'll be all right. Won't be worse than any of this other stuff I've been through, you know.
No, that's actually a good point too, because you have to enjoy what you
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Yeah, because it can be taken at any given moment. And
That's right.
unfortunately, I think that when you're young, before anything usually kicks in, unless you're born with it, but you get this mentality of, I'm just invincible
Right.
and nothing's going to take me down. And when it finally does, and it opens your eyes, and you're just like, I wasted so much time worrying about being young or, you know, whatever, instead of just enjoying life. So if you want to rappel down the Empire State Building,
Go for it.
go
No,
for
it
it.
was,
As
this was
long as
only
it's legal.
14 stories. Only 14 stories here.
Okay. But, you know, and if you want to go skydiving, make sure you have a parachute, please,
Yes.
because you can do it once without one. But and
Yeah, well, I do say yes. Be safe. Be safe.
Yes,
You know, don't
definitely
be
be safe.
reckless.
and you know,
A
have
lot of
fun.
people spend time trying to make sure I survive. I need to be respectful of that.
Yes, of course, there's that. So I wanted to ask you, what was it that got you to write the article, and how did you kind of feel writing it? Because delving into your story and just reading it brought tears to my eyes. And I think it's cathartic, but I want to hear your voice. How
Yeah.
you felt.
It was interesting because I had written before. I've written some things before. I didn't actually really consider myself a writer. A storyteller, yes, but I was an actor and did, you know, had some sense of writing, but just wasn't something I was leaning in on. But I had written a couple screenplays that had been warmly received, even though they hadn't been made into films. But, sometimes you do well at things and it takes a miracle to make a film. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other podcast. But so I had some sense that like I could tell a story and write. And so when I got a little bit better in dialysis, and when I say better, I mean when you first get there, all I would do is like want to sleep. And then I started to get better enough where like honestly I like couldn't sleep. Like it was so uncomfortable. I didn't have a lot of trust. Also, not to say that we'll just call them Velveeta, you know. I just did, there's some, you read the articles, there's some stuff. And
Yeah.
so I didn't like, I wanted to be aware, I wanted to know what was going on. I didn't want to clock out. And so I would just watch cooking shows for a bit and TCM. And then, I started to be like, okay, well, I'm going to use this time to make my phone calls, do all the like things on my computer. So I started bringing my computer. And then I started to write my screenplays. And then I started to write about the experience. And I think I got this sort of vision. Actually, what came first was a vision for a book, because I kind of wanted a book because it's so hard to read when you're sick, especially when you have acute illness. But so I had a vision for a book that was like not a bummer to read, that it was like an easy read, that was hopeful, and I was like, I think I'm going to start writing a book. And so I started writing my book in dialysis. But then I realized it's going to take a long time to write a book. And I realized like I have so much information here I really want to give to people. Like I was like, I don't want to keep this to myself. Like I feel like whatever I did got me better care. It helped make me improve my outcome. And so I then started Rare Disease Girl, my Substack. And as I started writing that, I was like, I'm gonna, because people were giving me good feedback about the writing. And so I got confident enough to pitch it out to Huffington Post, and they warmly loved it. And then when we posted it, I thought initially that it would just like hide on the corner of the internet, that my like friends would read it when I posted it on my Facebook, or like my mom would send it out to her friends. And then within a couple hours, I remember taking JJ, my little one, to a birthday party, and my phone just kept popping off like with texts, and it became the #1 trending viral article on Apple News.
Wow.
And it was there like all day. And then even Zach, who was in Europe at the time, like one of his bandmates, he plays music and he was on tour, looked at his phone, and I was in the screen, that little like news screen. If you have an Apple, I'm like, there's my face with my baby. And he was like, dude, Taylor's in my phone.
Wow.
And like it just blew up. And then come to find that like basically had 1 million readers in like a day. Like it was. And so what I think I realized with that is that the patient journey is something that's really important. And even though what happened to me is very rare, the takeaways are so universal.
Yes.
So
Very.
was it emotional writing the article, reliving the experience?
Well, I think when I first started writing, it was emotional, especially when I was writing about trauma, when I was writing Rare Disease Girl. And I think, but when I realized like, it was interesting. I wrote a first draft, and that first draft of my book was very emotional. And I found that I was using avoidance really effectively in what I was choosing to write about. And so in my second pass, I was like, okay, so there's clearly things that I like just glossed over, and I'm just gonna like process in a weird way, writing about it, much like people experience with journaling. It helped me process it. I think it was like I could revisit. People talk about exposure therapy and things like that, but it's like I could revisit things in my mind with my sweet little dog next to me on the safety of my couch. And it wasn't always easy. Like for that, it took me a couple drafts sometimes. Like especially when one of my most traumatic things was involving the ventilator, because I was ventilated 3 separate times, and the process of getting a ventilator removed. I wish this on no one, but better to have it removed and be okay than to never have it get removed. So
Yes.
but it feels like plumbing being pulled out, and then they're like, just breathe. And I remember they before they take it out, though, you have to kind of practice breathing on your own. And I remember like, oh, I had so much difficulty just like breathing normally, and it was very bizarre to me, this when we talk about things we took for granted. Breathing was something I profoundly took for granted, this thing that I never thought about much, all of a sudden was just so hard. And actually, I can feel myself now go, because it's visceral. It is
Yes.
visceral. Like, and for like almost the first year, I was doing therapy and physical therapy, and they would always be like, take a deep breath. And I'd be like, no. Taking a deep breath does not make me feel better. Going for a walk where I have to go up a hill or some stairs is really triggering for me. Like, this is all very hard. But writing about it helped me sort of go back to those moments and sort of reprocess them. And so when I wrote the article too, I think I had some experience already kind of scouring that experience a bit. So in that point, I could always keep the audience in mind, if that makes any sense. Like I really had the reader in my mind when I wrote it. I wrote it like honestly, like if I could have just been with you, Michael, like on your couch, like just wanting to tell you like what happened. So like that was sort of my North Star in that experience, is like writing a piece that's accessible for people. And also, I think I also wanted doctors to read it too.
Right.
Frankly.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully written, very well written.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like reading it, I needed to pull out a dictionary or anything like that. I understood what you were saying. And the reason why I was asking that was because sometimes writing one story can just, it's hard, because sometimes it's hard to figure out, well, where do I go with it? What do I want to say?
Yeah.
And what you were able to say in that was not only unique, but at the same time universal. And being able to do both at the same time is really a beautiful trait to have.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're
Thank
welcome. Because I felt like reading it that I was, next to you on the couch, but at the same time, I could actually visually picture what's going on and understood what you were going through. And being able to survive being intubated is like amazing in and of itself, because I have like the worst gag reflexes. So being able to have that removed and not want to punch somebody, I commend you for that. Because
I mean, honestly, if we're talking about what's worse, honestly, I feel like an NG tube was way worse. I don't know if you've had to deal with one of those, but
I haven't personally, but I have seen how that. Nope.
The NG tube is like, because the difference is like, I've been on 3 ventilators at this point. I never remember getting put on it. Like you're so out of it. Usually, like you're basically dying. So when you're being put on it, like. And I do say this actually, a lot of people, they talk about the experience, or they, and how scary it must have been. And I will say this, and this is something that I learned pretty fast. It's amazing what our brains can also protect us from.
Yep.
And like for example, I talked about the hypoxia, and I was, but in that time, I was not getting enough oxygen, but I was also not feeling pain. Like I was confused. I was, upset. I was angry, but there's something that like clicks in where like I felt fine, weirdly enough. That's why like these dudes on Everest walk off the cliff and just go like, we're good, because
Yes.
something about our bodies, and I know this sounds very strange to say, but when we're in these sort of, I basically, at one point had no brain reflex, right? That's like on my chart. But it's strange how our brains sort of like kind of protect us. They sort of numb us. They sort of numb us out. They take us to someplace. I mean, I had a few out of body experiences too, and at one point had a couple locked in experiences too, where like I could hear but I couldn't move except for my feet.
Right.
And even though like intellectually I was scared, there was this weird like surrender that was happening too. And it made me look, I don't want to die. I'm here. I'm fighting hard. But it made me also not afraid of that process because I kind of trust my body to like know what to do in a weird way.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to comfort people who, especially when they have these really scary terminal situations, that, after being at the brink repeatedly, almost dying many times, unfortunately, there is like a strange surrender. And there's a beautiful, weird moment of like calm too. Like even in my out of body experiences, like there was one where I was watching myself being worked on the table. And I remember not feeling scared for myself. I think I was now I'm getting a little woo woo, but I was sort of downloaded with this like knowledge that I was not dying here. I'm just in some liminal space. So I remember actually having the thought, I wish I could text my husband from here because I wish I could tell him it's going to be a while.
Yes.
But like
Yep.
that was the kind of thoughts I was having, not like panic, not like, it was a very sort of emotionally detached feeling, but also wise at the same time. It's very strange.
No, it makes sense though, because I think a lot of times, even in non-near death experiences, sometimes when things get just too overwhelming or
Yes.
too difficult, that all of a sudden sometimes there's this calm. And it's
Yes.
just like all of a sudden you know exactly what to say or what to do and how to feel so that you can turn up for the next day or, the next minute. And our brains are amazing that way. Sometimes it tries to kill us and sometimes it tries to protect us at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship apparently, but
I know.
it's an amazing organ at what it can do.
Yeah.
And I give kudos to all the scientists and the doctors that do this because it is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I still wish they understood and were taught that you have to listen to us. We know our bodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We are the experts on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in mine for 47 years. If I don't know anything about my body at this point, then yeah, go ahead, just take over for me. Because obviously I'm like the biggest idiot on earth. But otherwise, trust me on it.
Yeah, but it's a journey to that moment because I think at first for me, I didn't trust myself.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and then once I did and that locked in, I was like, oh, I have more wisdom here than I realized. And
Yes.
that's one of my big things. And anyone listening, we are wiser than we know.
Way wiser than we
Fully.
know and realize. And that's true. I didn't think I knew myself, what I wanted, who I was, or anything until I was in my 40s. Because
Right. Same.
you can kind of close
Yep.
it's like you hit 40 and then you're able to close off all of the noise from outside and you're able to finally listen to yourself and be able to say, you know what, I like this or I don't like that. And this is what works or this is not what works. But before that, it's like, for some reason, our brains just can't let us shut everybody
That's
else
right.
out.
Yep.
That's right. Well, and that's what I say to people too, who maybe don't have the confidence I've found my way to. You can do a lot by just not being afraid to share what your body's telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like be honest. And if your body is telling you something and it's not quiet about it, you do not be scared about verbalizing it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
be the pit bull. Like, just push and push and push, because that body wisdom is asking for something, is asking for some kind of care. And we just have to remember to keep, and the other thing is ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not confident about something, you can ask questions to get your care team to also engage with you.
Right.
Because I do think sometimes we get in there and we kind of genuflect and
Yes.
we're overwhelmed and we're scared. But I also say, I write about this a lot too, and I try to have my readers sort of be the empowered patient, in that when you're going to that doctor's appointment, you might only get like 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
Don't go in there without a plan.
Yeah.
Like, go in there, think about that, think of storytell. I use my storytelling skill, like storytell your experience. Tell them what's going on, how it's happening, what time of day, how is it also hindering your life. And I think that sometimes gets lost in the mix, because
Yes.
like they need to know the impact of what's going on with you. Like, if you're just like, oh, my stomach hurts, well, my stomach hurts, but also like it's keeping me from like being the mom I want to be, and I can't fulfill these goals in my life, and I'm working really hard, and blah 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 blah, and I can't go to work, and so then I have issues maintaining employment. You need to be really honest with your physicians and give them that context.
Yeah.
Because when they can visualize it, because really, like, look, doctors, God bless them, they look at us as a problem to solve.
Yes.
That's what they see. You're there, they want to solve your problem.
Quickly.
But the problem, exactly, they want to do it efficiently and quickly. But we have to get them to see us as humans, in context with our goals, hopes, dreams, and lifestyle, so that they can best treat us.
Yeah.
And that's great advice.
Yeah, it is.
And
some-
unfortunately, we have to end there.
Yeah.
We're out of
I could
time.
chat with you guys like all day.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
We could
We
too.
would love to talk to you more, and have you on again, because this has been a great conversation. And just, I want to say thank you so much.
Yes, thank
So
you.
thank you for writing the article. Thank you for just being a wonderful person,
Sharing the
and
story.
sharing your story, and allowing us the chance to talk to you about it, because
There was so much more I wanted to talk about.
yes,
Oh my gosh, we'll do a part two.
Yeah,
definitely.
Time.
Because,
I would
like,
love it.
honestly, it may not seem like it right now, and you may not hear it in my voice at this moment, but I'm just like, dancing in my head, because I get to
Fangirling.
talk to somebody who has been on television, and this is like awesome, and like has a viral article and all of this stuff. And like, I just think it's awesome, just beyond belief. So
Before
thank you.
we-
Well, if I can do it, you can do it too. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it's, these things are hard to do and challenging and whatnot. Like, but it's all, we're all just like works in progress. you
Yes.
know? And
Do you want to share with people how they can find you, and
Yeah.
such?
Yeah. I would always come say hi. I'm very findable. I am pretty active on TikTok and Instagram, and then Rare Disease Girl Substack. Like, come find me, come say hi. And also too, if you have any ideas or questions or things that you want to engage with, I do a lot of also just like, I give, even though Substack is sometimes a paid process, I give pretty much everything away for free that I feel like can better your life. So please come join me there. And like, I just did a post this, last week about, how I try to save money as a student. I'm not a student, as a patient, with copays that are like $8,000.
Yes.
An infusion, it's like bananas. It's like, how do we do this? So, and but it's also turned me into an advocate, right? Because
Yeah.
this is a banana system, and we
It
need
is.
to help
It's
each other.
terrible.
And you're right, we have to definitely help each other. And
Yeah, share notes. We gotta compare notes.
Yep.
All
Definitely.
The time.
because we're all in this together, and we all want to come out better people, and just having that family kind of feeling and that community, because I think we lost so much of that after the 90s happened, where there was no more of the block parties and no more of that kind of feeling anymore. And we kind of need to get back to that, I think.
Yeah.
Not all of it,
Yeah.
but just certain aspects.
But we'll do that next week.
Okay. Yes.
We're 15 minutes over.
All right. Thank you.
That's gonna be Dory's show, Block Party.
There you
Yes.
Block Party. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Please leave a rating for us wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Othering Podcast is brought to you by Loudcore Productions in conjunction with your support. Your hosts, Mike and Dory Morris, graphics by Joshua Morris, and join us next week on the Othering Podcast.